I'm Vin.
I'm Sori.
And bonus.
video.
This is 2 a.m. Hardest working couple on YouTube.
Pass me. Oh, I'm not lazy today.
Didn't say you were ever lazy. Hardest working couple on YouTube. We are doing a Behemoth song because it got released a couple hours ago. Shout out to all the beautiful folks who recommended it. And there we go. That's all we're going to say. So let's go. Behemoth, A Forest.
Ready?
Yep. Full screen, full screen.
Just follow your eyes, start to run into the trees, into the was always the same. And it was nothing. Again and again and again and again and again.
Oh my gosh. Whew. Yikes, man. That was creepy. That guy is tormented.
Yeah.
What?
Yeah. This is actually a cover of a Cure song.
Oh, really?
Yeah, so the Cure did this song, I don't know how long ago, but it's originally by them, and they covered it. So this is the first time I've ever actually seen a guest appearance on a Behemoth. They did this song in 1980 originally. Mm-hmm. This is the first time I've ever seen a collaboration with Behemoth. They're usually by themselves when they do this stuff.
I'm not familiar with whom they collabed with.
Yeah, I don't know who the guy is. Nicholas Capaforth is his name.
I'll tell you what. This
but
guy's tattoos were very interesting.
That guy, yeah, he seems extremely tormented. That
Guilty
guy.
on the side of his head like that.
Oh,
You
it
saw
says
that?
guilty?
It says guilty. I thought, oh man, like what the story was behind before he got that tattoo.
Yeah, that guy looks extremely miserable.
Yeah.
Yeah, I guess that's what it says. It's guilty.
I was like, whoa. When I saw it in the song, like in the music video, I was like, whoa. I just thought that was, I don't know, pretty unique. I've never seen that before.
Yes.
But you know how when you've done something and you keep thinking about it because you feel guilty about it, and like it's just like you can't get it out of your head, and so then to tattoo it on the side of your head, is just wow.
Yeah. It's strange.
So I didn't know, like, because it's Behemoth, I didn't know if there was some goddess that they were seeking after.
Yeah, I don't know. So
if it was just
the guy who wrote the song originally says the following: in a forest you sing, lost in a forest all alone. It's a song about extreme solitude, especially when you say it's always the same. I'm running towards nothing again and again and again and again. It's a song about an accident really happened to me in a forest. I was quite young, about 8 or 9. I got lost in a forest. In a forest, I try to recapture that feeling of extreme fear I was being taken by, and how maybe in other ways this type of unpleasant feeling can still be felt by anyone.
Yeah.
I actually did get lost in the woods one time, and it was actually pretty unsettling.
Yep.
Because I had just come up from New York, and so, it was like my second, third week in Maine or whatever, and I was taking a walk, and I went to the woods deeper than I ever gone before, and I kept going, and I got twisted up, because sometimes like I zone out, so I was just walking around, and by the time I knew, I was like, and then I hit this road, I hit the street, and I was like, I had no idea where I was. And then something was telling me, like, just stay on the road. But I went back into the woods to try to go. Like, I didn't get home till extremely late.
Was your mom scared?
Yeah, she was, but like I said, I had just come up from New York. So, like, being lost in Maine is a lot different from being lost in New York. Like, she was, she was like, because I used to do that all the time in New York. I knew exactly where I was going in New York, but, it's just different.
Yikes. I used to fake myself out because I thought it was, like, fun.
Really?
I'd go into the woods, and I would know my way out, but I would tell myself, you don't know your way out. You're, like, stuck in here. And it's a really panicky feeling. Like, all of a sudden, the actual forest feels like it's getting tighter on you. And so I think that's why they say you should just always stop and just build a fire. One, because it leaves kind of like a trail that's where you were there so people can find you. But also there's that companionship that happens with a fire so you don't feel so alone. But this was unsettling. It really was. Like I felt like off when I was watching it. I'm like, okay, so who is this voice? Like he can hear her calling, and then when he gets in there and she's not, there's never been a voice. Oh god.
There was never a girl.
That stuff freaks me right out. I don't like that. You're hearing something, it's not there.
Yeah.
Like when confusion is internal, it's freaky to me.
Yeah, when you're in the situation.
Like it's unsettling anyway if I was by a forest and I could hear like a voice calling to me. But if it's
the lady in the wood, you know?
Yeah, that's creepy, but it's like external, and so you can say, well, I'm getting away from this external thing. But to have it inside of your mind and it was never there to begin with, that is like...
Yeah, and of course, you know, if you pull out a little bit, it sometimes these things are metaphorical. So like, what does a girl represent? What does a forest represent? You know, you know, the girl in the video was kind of sinister and kind of, I mean, she was pretty, but she was like young looking. You know what I mean? She was not a provocative, but she looked like a, kind of like the picture of purity and innocence to some degree.
Really?
Yeah, like I said, she was kind of, you know, there's a lot of witchcraft imagery, yada yada yada, and this guy is like, you know, he's kind of garbed up in the forest, you know.
See, she looked really young over here.
Yeah, and
but she looked like she had bad intentions.
Yeah, she looks evil, you know, and it's a Behemoth video.
She just said innocent.
But at the same time, she does look innocent.
She looks innocent more over here when she's messing with the sand, but at the same time, she still can look sinister.
Is that the same person?
Yeah, that's the same girl. Look at her hair.
I don't think it's the same girl.
Look at the hair.
Look like the same girl to me.
I know she looks older there.
Yeah, I know.
But it's the same girl.
Okay, you believe it's the same girl. I don't. But anyway, it just, you know, like the forest in this song, it just seems to be like the place of confusion, but it's also a place of solitude, and depending on what your personality looks like, solitude is either good or bad. For a lot of people, solitude is like a death sentence. You know, I love solitude. I like quiet and being alone, but at the same time, I also like being around certain people. You know, like I don't want to be alone like all the time, but I do value, even the word solitude is eminently beautiful to me. I remember I was reading a comic, my brother used to have these comics, Superman, he had this Fortress of Solitude. I thought that was such a brilliant combination of words, the Fortress of Solitude. Allahu Akbar, I love that.
See, solitude to me, it's like captivity. I think of like solitary confinement, stuff like that. Like to me, it's a tight. I don't like the feeling. It's funny because I was talking to Zoe. Zoe is our 13-year-old, and she was talking about, because she likes to go off. I did the same thing when I was a teenager. I would go off by myself, and she goes off by herself. And she said that she, you know, sometimes she just likes to be alone. And I said, look, are you lonely when you're alone? And she was like, she goes, yeah. I said, well, well, then why don't you come out with everybody? She said, whoever said being lonely is a bad thing. And I was like,
yeah.
She sounds like you when she said that. And then she basically said, like, if you're lonely and you literally cannot get to anybody, then that's a bad type of lonely.
Right.
But if you're lonely because you've chosen to seclude yourself, that's okay to feel that kind of lonely.
Yeah.
And so I was like,
yeah.
I thought that was a very mature understanding.
Yeah, I just think that, yeah. Yeah, and it's very interesting that this song is out, you know, in this current situation that we're in, because the irony of our current day is that your home has now become this forest.
In case we're like years removed from this, COVID-19 is going on and everybody's stuck inside their houses.
Right, people are all under house arrest.
Yeah.
But it looks like Behemoth didn't follow the social. Maybe they don't have social distancing in Poland. But yeah, like it's. But you know, you have I think it was Twilight Zone one time where this guy was following. He wanted to. I think the town was Willoughby or something like that, and he would go on this train in the Twilight Zone, right? So you go on the train, he'd wake up in this town called Willoughby. But then, like when he went back on the train, he'd visit the town, and when he went back on the train, he'd wake up and he didn't go anywhere. It was all a dream. So that happened 3 or 4 times, and then they finally told him, like, hey, this is the last day you can be at Willoughby because the town's going away or whatever. And they were like, you can't, the only way you can, come to the town again is if you get off at the next stop because the Willoughby stop isn't there anymore. He goes, oh, okay, I'll do it. Da, da, da. So anyway, the end shows this guy at the bottom of some ravine or whatever, and it's like, what happened? And they're like, this poor sap, he jumped out of the train while it was moving. I have to get to Willoughby. And da, 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 da. So that was one of the spookiest Twilight Zone episodes.
I never saw the Twilight Zone. I've only ever heard people talk about it.
Yeah, it was pretty spooky. Like they led the guy to his death.
Yeah.
Like,
oh my word, that just gave me goosebumps.
But yeah, but it was
See,
like this
stuff like that, and that's what this is. The girl was never there.
Yeah, it was like this. Idyllic way of living. I think the whole point was like I was struggling with modernity. He was struggling with modernity, with the modern world, which is interesting because the Twilight Zone was around like the 40s and 50s. But then the Willoughby was this town where it was like 50 years in the past and everything was all, whatever. And so he was chasing that nostalgia. And so long story short, it was basically a psychological thing where he basically convinced himself that this town Willoughby existed. It was all in his head, and then he used that as an excuse to jump off the train.
That's what I'm saying.
Right, like, so it's all in his head, and he used that as an excuse to jump. So, like, that's kind of like a motif where you have this, like, idyllic thing, whether it's a woman or a city or a simpler times or whatever, and you keep chasing the thing, it's a mirage, but then they chase you to this point where you can't turn around. So like you got Arabic stories where a woman leads you into the desert, and then you end up in the middle of the desert, and, there's no way you're gonna die.
Yeah.
Like, so there's that, like, very interesting motif. So here's this, he's combining that motif with the experience that he has as a kid being in a forest. And I think all of that functions as a metaphor for the world and trying to find that one thing that you think is the ideal that's going to make you happy. And, those things, if we don't find that thing, it's inevitably going to lead to destruction. And then some people, end up saying the thing doesn't exist, and so all that's left is destruction. And obviously we say it does exist, it's God, that's what we're all looking for, whether it's Willoughby or the woman in the woods or the oasis in the desert, like, it's all the same thing, it's God in different, whatever. And so, like, your life in that context then depends on whether or not you find God. So, I know it's true with me. I know I wouldn't be here. I just wouldn't be here if I didn't find God, or if God didn't find me. Put it that way, because that's the difference, right? Is that that's the good news? Is that the woman in the woods, or whatever you want to call it, is going after you. It's not you're chasing after it, which is a beautiful idea.
Yeah.
But The Cure, like, is an aesthetically dark band, and I definitely think, like, if they were going to cover something, this would be a good song to cover.
There's so many memes
but
going
it's
around right
definitely
now
spooky
involving The Cure because of COVID-19.
Yeah.
But yeah, it's very spooky.
COVID-19.
Scary movies were, obviously, growing up in the strict home that I did, we could not watch scary movies. That was, like, not a thing. And, like, when I turned, like, 16, 17, we started, like, sneaking them into the house and watching them in our room, me and my sister. And of all the movies I have ever watched, and we've watched a lot of scary movies, nothing has been more scary to me than, I actually think it was, like, some version of a Christian movie, but it was called 3, and it would, that was so terrifying when you realize that what you thought was there was not actually there. And, like, sometimes I freak myself. I don't know why I do this. Maybe it's like maybe other people do this, or maybe I'm just, like, really weird. Like, I like to, like, put myself in certain situations and then freak myself out about it because I like that freaked out feeling. Also, sad music. I like to listen to very, very sad songs.
Yes, you do.
And then be like, oh yeah, but I don't have to be sad like that because I still have Vinny. We're not separated. But anyway, so, like, when I think of, oh gosh, like, I'll put myself in a situation where I tell myself that you don't exist and you actually never existed. I just made you up in my head. And, like, it's all like not real. The kids are not real.
Oh, really? You had a YouTube channel?
Yeah. Yeah. And then like you like, I don't know why I do this. Maybe it's for entertainment too. And then like in my mind I like picture like I didn't look up the YouTube thing, but if you brought that up. So then I'm like on the computer looking up the YouTube channel. I can't find it. I'm looking Christians react. Nothing's coming up. You know what I mean? Like that moment where the music changes because and then like I don't know. I'm actually, you know, like when I talk about like I don't want to be trapped. I don't like the feeling of being trapped.
Oh yeah.
But then the whole time I'm actually trapped. Like I'm in some hospital and I'm really trapped. Like I'm strapped to the table, not able to move. This whole thing is just something I've thought up in my head to. No. It's so scary to me. But I'm not. You're real, right?
I'm real. I'm real. There you are.
Then you have a bad day. I'm like, nah, this is real. I don't think I'd put this in here.
Well, you might, because it would be too good to be true.
That's true. You have to make it
You got to have
realistic.
some conflict. Didn't you say that yesterday?
Yeah,
that
I did.
You like the conflict.
A little bit.
Yeah. So there you go. So that would make sense, right?
Yeah. Anyway, that was scary.
Who knows? Maybe BM fan and Tina and none of them were real.
Don't say that. No, I don't like thinking like that.
We
That's
made
too
them
many.
all
There's
up.
too many people to.
We made them all up. What did you get the song?
Wait, weird. Usually I have a number in my head when I'm listening to something,
Yeah.
but I got sucked into the story and the visuals, and then I got scared at the end. So I don't. You go first.
Yeah, the guy, like I said, this is the first time I've ever seen Behemoth like partner with anyone, you know.
Mm-hmm.
And it's almost like Nergal took like a backseat to this guy, whoever he is. So,
Man, I'd love to sit
but
down
that guy,
and have a conversation.
that
with
guy looks extremely miserable. Yeah, I'd like to have a conversation with that brother. He looks extremely miserable. So.
He did such a good job. He must have got so many splinters when he was doing that part of the tree.
Yeah, that's the thing is that he does, you know, but he's not acting. I don't think, you know,
Nope.
whatever the forest and the girl and the lyrics represent to him.
Yep. I totally
He's still
agree.
in the throes of it, and he's just using the music as an excuse.
This part when he dug at the tree, I said that.
That's brutal.
I wish I knew
stuff.
what
So
the
I'm gonna give it a 9.66. So it's basically
Okay, then I'll give it a
don't switch it. If you
9.6.
flip the 6, you know,
I'll give it a
9.
9.6.
9.6. We gotta pray for
We got a 666.
Nicholas Kavarforth. But
Also, if you see our review and you want to have a conversation, it's like sitting down with Joe Rogan over here.
I am not as interesting as Joe Rogan. Not at all. Not at all.
At
Although I am listening to a lot of Terrence McKenna at night, so very, very interesting stuff. He's wrong about Constantine, but everybody's wrong about Constantine, so.
Is that
forgive him.
is that the one where he talks about DMT and all of that stuff?
Yeah.
Yeah, it's so weird because we've talked about this before. He has insomnia, so he's awake all night. Does it bother you when I say that publicly? Okay. Anyway,
I'm pretty sure everybody knows that.
okay, so he's up like literally 5, 6,
I mean,
7 o'clock in the morning. He's still awake.
It's only 2:40 right now in the morning. So.
And so I'll fall asleep, and he's still listening to this stuff for hours and hours, and all this weird discussion will get into my dreams. It's so bizarre. Like, I already can have weird dreams, but this takes it next level. And like all these, anyway, nobody wants to know all about this. Okay.
Nobody cares about the machine elves. And,
Shout out to Nergal. We're still waiting for that interview.
Yeah, where you at,
bastard.
big homie? Maybe we can talk to him together. That'd be interesting. Anyway, good
All right,
song.
that's it.
Good song. Praying for the big homie. Vin out.
Sorry, out.
Gone.
Oh, I just wanted to add this one more piece that I wanted to say during the review, but I forgot. So, in the part where he was like in the grass and he was like squirming around, like laying on the ground, he kept scrunching up kind of like into the fetal position and then coming out, and I thought to myself, oh my gosh, it looked like what they were communicating through that he had been tormented from birth. So, interesting.
It's always the same. It was nothing. Again and again and again and again and Just follow your eyes.